All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday Wellness. I'm Eileen Whipple. I'm here in Arizona, and this is a group that we've gotten together to help bring you information for you to be well, get well, and stay well. And we are so excited tonight because we have our friend Marco Rodriguez from Texas joining us. He's a father, he's a husband, and he's a clinician, and and he knows what it is to be a man because he's done it his whole life. And so, as you know, June, we are doing men's wellness and health. And so I'm just going to let Marco take it away and share with us his wisdom and his experiences.
Holy moly, that was so funny. Thank you for that. Oh my gosh. It's really fun. Thank you. First of all, Eileen, thank you so much. It's really an honor to be here and to share a little bit. I don't know. I'm sure you've had other speakers, throughout the month, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to share anything that hasn't already been shared, but hopefully what I have might bring a different perspective. And so I'm going to just kind of jump right in it. So we're going to talk about men's health. And what's really funny is that, men's health. I love what Dr. Brett Brimhall said last week. I interviewed him when I was in Phoenix. I'm actually in San Antonio right now. I'm not in El Paso. We are in San Antonio for a day, and then we're going to head down to South Padre Island, spend a couple of days there at the beach, and then come back to San Antonio. So I'm going to do a little bit to take care of my mental health, just to kind of get away, and then we're going to be back in El Paso for 2 days, and then we're going to head over to Phoenix. So Eileen, I will see you again probably in less than 10 days or about 10 days. But anyhow. So when I was in Phoenix the last time, I was talking to Dr. Brimhall, and we were talking about men's health. And I love what he said. He says men's health is basically doing whatever your wife told you to do. And part of that is that, guys, we're terrible. We are absolutely terrible about going to the doctor. And unfortunately, we wait so long until there's something catastrophic. Many times we wait until there's something catastrophic. When if we took a little bit more of a preventative measure or preventative approach, many of the issues that we have, could be resolved even before. They could be mitigated. So I'm going to go over a couple things that hopefully will help. Now, I tend to kind of push the boundaries a little bit. So I'm going to just say this up front, that according to the FDA guidelines, nothing that I say today is meant to treat as a treatment or to imply any cures or mitigating disease. Even if I, in my passion, tend to kind of maybe step over the bounds, okay, please, 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 anything that you hear from me today, go and check this out with your health provider. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. And I always say that because I tend to get a little bit passionate about the information that I know, and I know just enough to be dangerous. So one of the things that people don't realize is that if you go back to really disease and really we're talking about men's health, but the opposite of men's health is illness or disease. And you look back and people always ask me, where did this come from? Or why did this happen? And, and I don't really know, but I do know this, that the American Red Cross did a study not too long ago, and they stated that the average baby born in America is born with over 287 toxic chemicals already in their system, and 180 of them are known to cause cancer. Now, I want you to stop for a second and ask yourself, if babies are born with these chemicals already in their system, where do you think those chemicals came from? Probably from the parents. So we know that there are toxic chemicals in our environment that we're exposed to on a regular basis. In fact, since the Industrial Revolution, over 85,000 toxic chemicals have been introduced into our environment. Now, I want you to think about this for a moment. It's only logical if you put the pieces together. The human body has existed for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And for all of this time, we existed on a clean earth. We ate real food. You hunted, you gathered real food. You drank real clean water, not chlorinated water, not treated water, real water. And so we lived that way for thousands and thousands of years. And it's only been within the last 100 years or so that all of these chemicals have been introduced. And it really hasn't given the human body time to adapt to all of these toxins. So where does this come from? Well, the air we breathe. Now think about that. You know, we all want cleaner air. I want cleaner air. Everybody wants cleaner air, but no one's really doing anything about it. I drive an F-150. I don't apologize for it. If you drive an electric vehicle, hey, great, good for you. You're making up for my additions to the environment, to my pollution. I like my F-150, and I know people that drive F-250s and you know, big trucks. And the thing is that no one's really doing anything about the environment. Everyone wants somebody else to do something about it. We also know that the food that we eat isn't really food anymore. Everything we eat is genetically modified. Everything we eat is processed. There's, you know, yellow dyes, red dye number, you know, whatever. And so the human body wasn't designed to eat what I call non-food. And I always ask this question, you know, have you ever gone into a grocery store and you see the health food section? Well, what is that all about? I mean, if there's a health food section, what the heck is the rest of it? And we're putting all of that into our bodies. And so what's happening is over the course of time, that's starting to affect our bodies. Now, some people might say, well, you know, Marco, my family and I, you know, we eat organically, we eat good food. Okay, all right, well, good, because something is better than nothing. But if you look at a UCLA study that was done in 1997, they compared the nutritional content of multiple fruits and vegetables in 1997 compared to the nutritional content in 1953. And they concluded, and spinach was the worst one, but with all of the fruits and vegetables, they concluded you literally have to eat 20 to 40 some odd times the servings today as you did in the 1950s. Now stop and think for a moment. The environment continues to get more toxic. Our food quality continues to go down, and we're stuck in the middle. And then we can't figure out why cancer is now the #1 killer in America. Why ADHD is on the rise? Why is autism on the rise? Why is Down syndrome on the rise? Why are why do we have heart disease? Why do we have all of this? Well, you got to stop and actually think for yourself and not just listen to whatever the news media is telling you, because they're not giving you the full picture. So for guys, you know, that eventually leads to lots of different things. Obesity. We have an obesity epidemic in America. You know, I even compared to the 1950s, I'm considered overweight. And I hear people who say, no, Marco, you're skinny. Not compared to the standards that were set in the 1950s, but people are now so overweight that even healthy guys or guys that are mildly overweight are considered skinny. Think about that for a minute. So we have an obesity epidemic. People are fatigued, they're tired, they have brain fog all the time. You know, I always ask this question. I want you to think about where you were at when you were 18 years old on a Friday night at 9 o'clock. Now, I grew up in the 80s. We hadn't even left the house yet. We were getting ready. The girls were spraying that Aquanet into their hair. Guys were primming their hair. We were all getting ready. Now, fast forward to today. What are you doing on Friday night at 9 o'clock? Time for bed, right? Somebody says, hey, let's go out and party. Are you kidding me? Go out on Friday on 9 o'clock? That's past my bedtime. What happened to us? What happened to our energy levels? Well, it got shut down pretty much. So obesity, fatigue, brain fog. What about decreased libido, erectile dysfunction? Now, I know some of you are thinking that I'm hitting below the belt, and yeah, I kind of am. Prostate cancer, other types of cancers, heart disease, diabetes, Parkinson's. We have an epidemic of disease in this country. If you think about it, the human body was designed to live approximately 120 years. Who does that these days? Nobody's living that. In fact, you know, the age, or what do you call it, the life expectancy in America had been going up for several years. Over the last few years, it actually started to come back down. Why is that? Well, because, we created this environment, and now even modern medicine, it's too much for even modern medicine to deal with. And even if when you think about modern medicine, this is what modern medicine looks like. Let's take this pill. Let's take this medication. Oh, let's do this. Let's do that. And no one's really getting to the root cause of the matter. Now, I'm not anti-medication. I'm a health professional, and I work with a lot of people who are on medications, and there are times when medication is warranted. What I'm saying is what I always advocate for my patients and my parents is for you to do your homework. Do your homework. Research the medication that you're being given. Look at side effects. Look at what the benefits are. Look at all the pros and the cons, because nothing is getting to the root cause of disease. So what is the root cause? Well, if you go to PubMed.gov, that is our National Library of Medicine, you can look up oxidative stress. That's another word for those free radicals, for the toxins that we're getting because of all the environmental assaults. What you're going to find is over 254,000 studies on the subject of oxidative stress. To my knowledge, it is the most studied topic in the world. In fact, if you do a modified search just over the last 20 years, you're going to find that nearly 95% of all of the studies on oxidative stress have occurred just within the last 20 years. I want you to stop and think about this for a moment. 239,000 studies. Now, keep in mind that studies are not cheap. They're not free. They're expensive, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. So what we're talking about here is hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars that are being spent to study the subject of oxidative stress. And yet, the average person knows nothing about it. So I'm a big science geek. I love to do research. And so I started looking through all of the different diseases. You can see here, like, for example, oxidative stress and how that affects Alzheimer's. Down here, you can see atherosclerosis. So I kept scrolling through and I kept count of all the different diseases that were linked to oxidative stress. I stopped counting at 200, and there was a lot more. And believe me, I did not go through 239,000 results. I went through about 250 or so, and by that point, I'd come across 200 different diseases. So I'm sure that there are literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of diseases where they're either the root cause or are affected by oxidative stress. So if you do a search for oxidative stress in prostate cancer, look at this, 1,100 studies on how oxidative stress can affect prostate cancer. What about erectile dysfunction? 347 studies on oxidative stress and erectile dysfunction, 16,000 studies, oxidative stress and heart disease. Diabetes, 25,000 studies on how oxidative stress is linked with diabetes. Parkinson's, 7,300 studies. Colon cancer, almost 1,400 studies. What about stomach cancer? 360 studies. And the list goes on and on and on. Even mental health, 100 studies on how oxidative stress, those free radicals, those toxins are affecting brain health, and how that is in turn affecting a person's ability to manage stress and literally leading to anxiety levels. What about on the other end? Depression, 3,850 studies on how oxidative stress affects depression. And yet we have dozens and hundreds of medications that are dealing with all of the symptoms, and nobody is talking about getting to the root cause of all of these issues, which is oxidative stress. And that is why I'm such a big proponent. I'm so passionate about the biohacking lifestyle, in order to teach people that really the best thing that you can do is to be proactive, be your own biggest advocate, and do things preventatively in order to minimize the chances of getting one of these diseases. So I look at things like, for example, glutathione production. There's a lot of studies out there that are showing that we as a human race is producing lower amounts of glutathione. And one report said that they compared glutathione production in the liver with insulin production in the pancreas. Your pancreas produces insulin, and it's supposed to help it helps to kind of process carbohydrates and so forth. I won't go into all that, but if your diet consists of a lot of carbohydrates and a lot of sugars, eventually you're going to wear out your pancreas's ability to produce insulin. Something of process is occurring in the liver, and because of all the environmental toxins, the liver is now being compromised and it's unable to produce sufficient amounts of glutathione. Now, there's some other enzymes as well called catalase and superoxide dismutase. So the liver has a decreased ability to produce that glutathione. So what exactly is glutathione? Well, glutathione, I call it the single most abundant molecule that you've never heard of. In fact, it is the second most abundant molecule, second only to water. So let me ask you a question. Is water important? Right? We couldn't live without it. So if glutathione is the second most abundant molecule in your body, is glutathione important to you? Of course it is. It's life and death to you. And yet, the studies are showing that we are producing lower and lower levels of this particular enzyme called glutathione. So, glutathione, the reason why it's important is that when those free radicals or those toxins come in, glutathione, catalase, and superoxide dismutase get activated and literally are able to detoxify and remove that oxidative stress. If you don't get rid of that oxidative stress, that leads to an accumulation of those free radicals. So the way I like to describe what oxidative stress is if you take a bite of an apple and when you let the apple sit out for a while, what happens to the apple? Yeah, it turns brown, it oxidizes. Why didn't that happen before you took the bite, when the apple was enclosed? Exactly. It wasn't exposed to the environment. The oxygen itself, all of the toxins in the air are causing that apple to oxidize. Did you know that the same process is happening inside of your body? The only reason why you don't that you don't oxidize as quickly as an apple is because your body produces the enzymes in order to battle those toxins or that oxidation. Well, if your body is not producing sufficient amounts of those enzymes, then this process of oxidative stress, this oxidizing, it's almost like a rusting from the inside out, occurs so much quicker. So that eventually leads to the disruption or the dysfunction or the destruction of the mitochondria. Now, the mitochondria are extremely important. I want you to keep in mind that inside of the mitochondria, we all know what mitochondria is, right? You've heard it from junior high school biology. It's the powerhouse of the cell. Well, we know that it's so much more. In fact, 10% of your body weight is mitochondria. It produces over 90% of your body's energy, and you have over 10 million billion mitochondria in your body. So I'm going to show you this is kind of a good illustration of what happens inside of the mitochondria. Now, keep in mind that you have DNA inside of the mitochondria. You have DNA inside of your nucleus as well, but you have DNA inside of the mitochondria. So when you have high levels of oxidative stress, it goes into your body and it goes into, in its process, just like food is processed. Everything that you consume is being processed first in your stomach. It liquefies, goes into your blood system, and then it goes into every cell of your body. Once it goes inside of the cell, it's processed through the mitochondria. So when you have high levels of oxidative stress, it's affecting the mitochondria, but more importantly, it's affecting the DNA inside of the mitochondria. So this is a good illustration of how it looks. So over time, those free radicals start to affect your DNA's ability to function properly. Now, we know that every form of cancer is a mutation of the DNA. What most people don't know is that the majority of cancers are a mutation of the DNA inside of the mitochondria. In fact, if you do a search on cancer, you'll see that it's very much linked to oxidative stress and mitochondrial dysfunction with the mutation of the DNA inside of the mitochondria. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So what can we do about it? Well, if you do a search on liver detoxification, that is a big part of a big piece of this puzzle. Okay, if you do a search on glutathione, look at this: 160,000 studies on the subject of glutathione. Now, I'm going to ask you the obvious question again. If they're spending this much money to study glutathione, do you think that maybe it's important to you? I mean, I'm certainly sure that these scientists have better things to do than to just research something that has no significance. Okay, I hope that makes sense. All right. So how do you boost glutathione? Well, there's, diet and exercise are certainly a good start. And I certainly recommend having a good diet, having a good exercise program. These are some of the foods that can boost glutathione in your body, or that can contain glutathione. All right. Now, if you're not a healthy eater, at least do something a couple times a week, because again, I always like to say that something is better than nothing. Keep in mind that a UCLA study that was conducted in 1997 states that you would have to eat, again, that 43 bowls of between 20 and 40 times the number of servings today to get the same nutritional content in 1957. All right, you remember that? I talked about that earlier. So this is a good start, but it's certainly not the end all be all. We also look at things like antioxidant therapy, right? There are clinics out there that do kind of a chelation therapy. You go into a clinic, they do an IV solution where you can get, they inject some sort of a solution into your system, which binds to toxic metals and all types of different toxins. And there are some studies that show that it is beneficial. The drawback with that is, number one, it's expensive. Your insurance won't cover it. It takes a lot of time, and you got to sit there 2 to 3 times a month, get injected or get this IV solution put in you. And it takes a lot of time, and it costs a lot of money, and most people are not willing to do it, but it is an option. You can also look at things like what I call exogenous antioxidants, vitamin C, vitamin E, all of those. There's some drawbacks to those. By the time you put a vitamin, any type of antioxidant into your mouth, the saliva, the enzymes start to break it down. By the time it gets into your stomach, the stomach acids start to break it down. So by the time it actually gets into your system, you might get 20% of the potency that is advertised on the bottle. So you hear a lot of physicians who say, well, vitamins, well, you're just that's going to give you expensive urine. Well, that's true to a certain degree. I think they kind of take it a little bit too far, because there are some benefits. I mean, even if you're only getting 20%, 20% is better than nothing. But I like to do what I've done is I've been doing some research on a subject called epigenetics. And epigenetics and nutrigenomics, which is a study of how natural compounds can affect your overall gene expression. Now, this is why this is really important. Just a quick recap. The human genome was mapped out in the early 2000s, and we know that the human body has over 20,000 genes. And I don't remember the exact number, but about 30 or 40%, something along that, very low number of your genes are set in stone. In other words, they can't be manipulated. But the majority of your genes can be affected, either upregulated or downregulated, based on what you put inside of your body. So I love this gentleman's research. This is Dr. McCord. He discovered one of the enzymes that is a very powerful antioxidant called superoxide dismutase. And he discovered that by activating certain pathways in your cells, you can activate not only that enzyme, SOD, but also glutathione as well as catalase, literally detoxifying your body from the inside out. Now, if you go to, this is kind of what he looks like today, and he was featured on an ABC primetime report way back in 2005. So I'm going to share a short clip.
You want to get an edge on turning back the clock with just a few pills? Who doesn't? Well, it's no longer science fiction, but science possibility, a potential breakthrough. As I found out firsthand, there may be a way to erase years, at least inside my body. Granted, it's down the road, but some scientists are wondering if a new pill I took might offer a very long life. It may not look like the fountain of youth, but inside this nondescript building, I'm about to become part of an exciting experiment, a kind of guinea pig.
Dr. McCord, okay.
I'm here at the University of Colorado in Denver to meet Dr. Joe McCord, a world-renowned scientist.
This is pretty exciting stuff you're finding, huh?
It is. We're very excited about it.
His latest research could very well unravel the mystery of aging itself. And his decades of experiments may have the potential of adding years to people's lives and possibly prevent chronic diseases like cancer, diabetes, and heart disease. It all centers around this small yellow pill, and for me, it begins with a blood test.
Can you scoop? Yeah, there we go.
It wouldn't be the first time I've given blood for this company.
They want to check my levels of something called T-bars, which is a rough indicator of a person's actual age. T-bars can identify a condition known as oxidative stress, a kind of measure of the wear and tear on our bodies. Oxidative stress, like the rusting of an engine, is not a good thing.
Bad for the body.
Leading to disease.
Leading to disease and leading to malfunction, and importantly, leading to what we call aging. It is a slow progression of increasing oxidative stress. That's the main characteristic biochemically of the aging process.
The problem of aging begins with the very food we eat to give us energy. As our cells burn that food, they also release toxic chemicals. Those chemicals, you may know them as free radicals, react with all the components of our cells, literally bombarding them millions of times per second, damaging all our cells. The result? Oxidative stress, and we all have it. The body fights back with a system of defenses. It makes two antioxidant enzymes, catalase and SOD, whose job is to gobble up the free radicals before they can harm our cells.
So, doctor, how often do I take these?
And so, here I go. With that swallow, I've just become part of a potentially landmark scientific experiment.
Doesn't taste bad.
It's called Protandim, and tests on both mice and humans have already shown that it revs up the manufacture of those good enzymes in our bodies. More enzymes, fewer free radicals to harm us.
Right now, all we know is that this preparation decreases oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is not a disease, just like aging is not in itself a disease, but it's something that accompanies and is attached to many disease processes. So you can see the age-related.
Normally, oxidative stress, measured by those T-bars, increases with age. But in Dr. McCord's tests, taking just one pill of Protandim a day reversed that trend for everyone at every age, even for an 80-year-old.
They all are reduced to the level of oxidative stress that one would expect, frankly, in a newborn or a very young child.
High oxidative stress is associated with more than aging. It's been linked to hundreds of illnesses.
It's at the very center of many diseases: liver disease, diabetes, emphysema, asthma. I've studied all of these: strokes, heart attacks.
Even mental disease.
Yes.
Depression?
Alzheimer's disease, depression.
Dr. James Crapo with the National Jewish Medical Center in Denver is also researching Protandim for the company. But what about my progress? After nearly 2 weeks now, it's time to get my results. Dr. McCord calculates the numbers. The result? My level of oxidative stress has declined dramatically.
45%, that's excellent.
Just look at where I fall on the graph, before and after.
Which, if extrapolated back, is the level you would see in a newborn baby.
Would you suggest I keep taking this supplement?
I would. I can't guarantee it's going to extend your life. I can't guarantee it's going to eliminate any diseases or cure any diseases.
But we do know that oxidative stress is part of those disease processes. And I don't want to wait until I'm 80 years old and find out that I should have taken it.
Okay. Well, so after that report aired, multiple universities from around the world contacted Dr. McCord's lab and wanted to do their own research on his findings. And I'm going to share some of those with you. For example, LSU, in conjunction with the Skin Cancer Foundation, they studied his formula in a topical, and they found that it reduced the proliferation of skin melanoma by an average of 57%. Johns Hopkins did a very similar study on lung cancer. The American Heart Association, they published a 26-page article in Circulation magazine on its effects, on his formula's effect on cardiac health. They funded another study with Ohio State University on its effects on cardiac health. Eames in Mexico City, National Institute of Aging, which is a part of the National Institute of Health, they found that by activating these pathways, one's called NRF1, another one's called NRF2, by activating these pathways appropriately, that you could literally improve or prolong the lifespan by an average of 7%. So in human years, you're talking about 5 years. Now, their study was only on half the dose, and my understanding is that the NIH has approved to fund another study on the full dose. But so you have universities from all around the world. And again, I ask you, if these guys are studying this, don't you think there's something to it? I mean, certainly these guys have a better things to do than to study something that has no significance. Washington State University stated, I think they made the most profound statement I think I've ever heard. They said that NRF2 may well become the most extraordinary therapeutic and most extraordinary preventative breakthrough in the history of medicine. Now, I have all the respect in the world for Washington State University. You know, they're not your local community college. I mean, this is Washington State. I think they kind of know what they're talking about here. So the way all of this works, and I'm going to kind of wrap it up and go through this really quickly. It's a process called coordinated cellular signaling. This is a chart of what a molecular biologist would study when he's looking at all the pathways of the cell. Now, I'm not going to go into all of this because I don't know all of this, but I'm kind of a simple guy. So, and I know most guys, we're kind of simple. We like to keep things simple. So I'm going to, if you look at, let me see here. Did I put it on there? Okay. Yes, I did. All right. One thing real quick. So NRF2, and I apologize, my slides got mixed up. NRF2, there's over 18,000 studies just on the subject of NRF2 and how it reduces oxidative stress, okay? So we know oxidative stress is linked to over 200 health conditions. And we know that by activating the NRF2 pathway, you can reduce the oxidative stress by up to 70% in 120 days. So the way NRF2 works is, you know, it kind of went through this molecular biologist pathway, but to keep it simple, you ever seen a domino exhibition? I love this. Dr. Brian Dixon shared this with me once, and it was phenomenal. So if you have, you know, what do you call it? A domino exhibition. You knock over one domino, which then starts a chain reaction, and eventually something amazing happens. Well, that's kind of how coordinated cellular signaling works. You activate that NRF2 pathway. That leads to a chain reaction inside of your cells, which literally activates over 300 enzymes in every cell of your body. activating glutathione by 300%, superoxide dismutase by 30%, catalase by 54%, sirtuin production by 100% in 24 hours, literally reducing oxidative stress by up to 70% in 120 days. To kind of put it plainly, you have the ability inside of your body to give yourself an improvement of 70%, and a 70% improvement or a 70% increase in the fighting chance of maintaining your health and wellness. I hope that made sense. Okay, so with that, I'm going to stop the sharing, and I'm going to kind of open it up to any questions. I hope that some of that made sense. I apologize, my slides were a little bit off.
Oh, that was fabulous. And so, Marco, I loved how you brought in the oxidative stress and what we can actually do about it and take some actions and how it is affecting our lives. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to close out the meeting, and then we can keep the recording on if there are some questions and answers you want to put into your own personal video, but I'll edit this piece out that I'm saying right now. But
All right.
so